Well, isn't this just perfect? Commander Draz Vorex muttered, staring at the holographic display of the small blue planet. Another boring, water-soaked rock that High Command insists will be the jewel of the Q-Artanian Empire. The bridge of the Q-Artanian flagship Inevitable Victory hummed with activity as crew members scurried about, preparing for what would surely be another routine conquest. Draz leaned back in his command chair, 3 of his 4 eyes blinking asynchronously, a nervous tic he'd developed over his 37 conquest campaigns. Sir, preliminary scans show indigenous life forms with primitive technology, nuclear capabilities at best. No significant space presence, reported Science Officer Lura Pex, her tentacle appendages dancing across the control panel. Draz snorted. Nuclear capabilities? How quaint. I'm sure they will be absolutely terrified by our planet crackers and quantum disruptors. Lieutenant Mav Jackson, a young officer with more enthusiasm than experience, piped up. Commander, should we begin the standard intimidation protocol? Perhaps vaporize one of their larger cities as a demonstration? No. High Command wants this planet intact. Apparently, it has an unusually diverse biosphere they wish to study. Plus, the humans could make serviceable labor units if properly subjugated. Draz waved his primary hand dismissively. Send the standard communication package. Let them know resistance is pointless. Their surrender is expected within 1 planetary rotation, blah blah blah, you know the routine. The communications officer Tech Xandar nodded. It's sending now, sir. Translation matrices are adapting to their various languages. Wonderful, Draz said, his voice dripping with boredom. Another day, another conquest for the glory of the Empire. The response from Earth came approximately 3 hours later, and it was not what anyone on the Inevitable Victory had expected. Sir, I'm receiving thousands, no, millions of incoming transmissions from the planet. Tech shouted, his usually blue face turning a startled purple. Millions? That can't be right, Draz said, finally interested enough to sit up straight. Put one on the main screen. A holographic display flickered, and a human face appeared. It was a female, according to their database, with dark hair pulled back from her face and a peculiar expression that the alien psychological profile algorithms couldn't quite identify. Hello, extraterrestrial visitors, she said calmly. I'm Dr. Ada Winters, representing absolutely no one but myself. I have got some questions about your propulsion systems. Those are some fascinating gravitational wave signatures you are putting out. Draz blinked all 4 eyes simultaneously. Cut that transmission. Find me their planetary leadership. Another face appeared. A male with lighter coloring. Greetings from Earth. I'm just a regular citizen named Trevor Barnes. Is it true you guys have faster-than-light travel? Because our physicists would love to buy you a drink and chat about that. Next. Draz barked. A different human, this one wearing some kind of uniform. Captain Leslie Morgan, United States Navy. Before you start anything hostile, you should know we have been monitoring your approach for the past 3 days. Just saying. Next. Another human. Hi. Brandon Wu here, social media influencer. Would you be up for an interview? My followers would go absolutely crazy. I'm thinking we could call it aliens. They are just like us, except not at all. What is happening? Draz demanded, rising from his chair. Where is their unified response? Where is the panic? The pleading? The unconditional surrender? Lura Pex studied her console. Commander, it appears their planet has no unified government. They are fragmented into approximately 195 sovereign entities called countries, and even those are subdivided further. That's inefficient, Draz said, genuinely puzzled. There's more, sir, Lura continued. They are broadcasting our presence on something called the Internet, a global information network. Our communication has gone, how do I translate this, viral? Viral? Like a disease? Lieutenant Jackson asked, in a manner of speaking. Information spreads among humans like a contagion. They are all talking about us everywhere. Draz paced the bridge. This is not standard protocol. Where is the fear? This is a level 2 civilization facing a level of an empire. But they should be trembling. Another transmission popped onto the screen unbidden. A human wearing what appeared to be sleeping attire, holding some kind of beverage. Hey, space people. Quick question, do you guys have pets where you come from? Because my cat Muffin is super interested in your spaceship. She hasn't taken her eyes off the sky all day. Draz slammed his fist on the console. Enough. Prepare a small tactical strike. Nothing major. Just eliminate one of their smaller settlements. Show them we mean business. Sir, Security Chief Grax Vorn interrupted. Our systems are detecting intrusions. Intrusions? In our network? That's impossible. Draz scoffed. Their technology is primitive. Nevertheless, Grax insisted, something is probing our systems. Thousands of, what would you call them, pings. Pings, Draz repeated incredulously. Yes, sir. It seems millions of these humans are attempting to connect to our ship's communications array using their primitive devices. Some are actually succeeding. As if to emphasize this point, the ship's lighting flickered, and a strange tune began playing over the internal communication system. The lyrics were incomprehensible to the Quartanians, something about never giving up and never letting down. What is that noise? Turn it off immediately. Draz commanded. I can't, sir, Tech admitted sheepishly. They have somehow gained access to our entertainment systems. Impossible, sir, called the tactical officer, Ren Korva. We are detecting launches from the planet's surface, hundreds of them. Finally, Draz exclaimed. They are fighting back. Prepare countermeasures. Sir, they are not weapons, Ren said, confusion evident in her voice. They appear to be small satellites, and more of those pings are coming from them. Draz collapsed back into his command chair. I don't understand. This isn't how conquests go. 24 hours later, the situation had not improved for the Quartanian invasion force. In fact, it had deteriorated significantly. Status report, Draz demanded, his voice hoarse from shouting contradictory orders for the past day. Lura Pex looked exhausted. Sir, we have lost control of approximately 40% of our non-critical systems. The humans have something they call hackers, individuals specialized in infiltrating computer networks. They are surprisingly adept at finding vulnerabilities in our systems. But our technology is millennia beyond theirs. Yes, sir, but there are millions of them trying simultaneously. And they are creative. Plus, our systems were never designed with this kind of security threat in mind. We have always encountered unified resistance, not whatever this is. Draz groaned. What have we lost control of? The environmental controls in the lower decks, most of the entertainment systems, food replicators are stuck producing something called pizza, and Lura hesitated. And what? What? Our external communication array is broadcasting cat videos to the entire fleet. Cat videos? Small furry Earth predators doing amusing things. The crew is finding them quite entertaining, actually, Lura admitted. This is mutiny. Draz roared. Grax, prepare a landing party. We will show these humans what happens when they defy the Quartanian Empire. Security Chief Grax shifted uncomfortably. About that, sir. We have been monitoring their global communications and they are preparing for our arrival. Not with weapons, but with cameras, something called cosplayers, and apparently, several thousand humans want us to sign copies of a book called To Serve Man, which according to our cultural database is some kind of joke. A joke? They think we are a joke. Draz's voice reached a pitch previously unheard on the bridge. Not exactly, sir. They seem enthusiastic. Excited, even? Many are organizing welcome parties. Some governmental entities have prepared diplomatic teams. Scientists are clamoring to meet us. And several entertainment conglomerates are offering us something called a reality show deals. Draz stared at his security chief in disbelief. Are you telling me they want to make us celebrities? It appears so, sir. The commander turned to stare at the blue planet on the view screen. What kind of species reacts to a conquest fleet with enthusiasm? Humans. Apparently, Mav Jackson offered unhelpfully. Another alarm blared, and Tech Xandar reported, "Sir, we are receiving a direct communication from the flagship of the Third Fleet. Admiral Zorn demands to know why his personal quarters are now pink with something called Hello Kitty decorations." "I can't explain that," Draz shouted. "I can't explain any of this." "Commander," Lura Pex said quietly, "I believe we may need to reconsider our approach. Standard conquest protocols clearly aren't working." "You think?" Draz snapped. "We came to conquer a planet. But instead, they have infiltrated our systems, turned our fleet into an entertainment network, and are preparing welcome parties. This isn't a conquest, it's a catastrophe." Just then, all the screens on the bridge changed simultaneously. A symbol appeared, a circular design with a stylized human hand making a V shape within it. "What's that?" Draz demanded. "It appears to be the logo for something called Starfleet," Tech replied, consulting his database. "It's from an entertainment series the humans enjoy about peaceful space exploration and interspecies cooperation." Beneath the logo, words appeared in the Quartanian language, "We come in peace." "Do you?" Draz stared at the message for a long moment, then slumped in his chair. "Get me high command. I need to report that standard conquest procedures are inadequate for this world." "Sir," Tech said hesitantly, "communications with high command are currently compromised." "Compromised how?" "The humans have somehow rerouted all our official channels through something called TikTok. Any message we send will apparently be accompanied by an Earth Dance challenge." Draz closed all four eyes and sat in silence for nearly a full minute. When he opened them again, he looked defeated. "New plan," he announced. "We are establishing diplomatic contact." "Diplomatic contact," Lieutenant Jackson repeated, shocked. "But sir, we are conquerors. The Quartanian Empire doesn't do diplomacy." "We do now," Draz said grimly, "because I suspect the alternative is watching our entire fleet become an interstellar meme." As if on cue, a new message appeared on the screen: "Humanity welcomes first contact. Press conference in 12 hours. Bring snacks." Lura Pex leaned toward her commander. "Sir, what's a press conference?" Draz sighed deeply. "I have no idea, Lura. But I suspect we are about to find out." The inevitable victory hung in Earth orbit, its once menacing presence now seeming somewhat diminished as hundreds of small human satellites surrounded it, with each one broadcasting countless signals, messages, music, and yes, cat videos. Commander Draz Vorex, veteran of 37 conquest campaigns, realized that his 38th might go down in Quartanian history for all the wrong reasons. Because somehow, impossibly, Earth wasn't being conquered. The press conference, as it turned out, was absolute chaos. Commander Draz Vorex stood rigid on the makeshift stage that had been hastily assembled in a location called Geneva, flanked by Lieutenant Jackson and Science Officer Lura Pex. His other officers had wisely found excuses to remain aboard the ship. Thousands of humans crowded before them, many holding devices pointed directly at the aliens. Draz had been assured these were not weapons but cameras and phones. He remained skeptical. "Commander?" "Over here," shouted a human with a small hovering device following him. "Garrett Williams, BBC News. Can you confirm rumors that your species has visited Earth before? Ancient astronaut theorists are going wild on social media." Before Draz could respond, another human pushed forward. "Amanda Torres, Tech Today. What operating system does your fleet run on? Because whatever firewall you are using, it's clearly outdated. Is it true your ship is now playing nothing but 1980s music videos? It's called Another. Will you be attending Comic-Con next month?" Are those natural skin colors, or do you dye yourselves? Can I get a selfie? Draz raised all four of his arms, which immediately silenced the crowd not out of fear, but because thousands of cameras clicked simultaneously to capture the gesture. People of Earth, he began, trying to maintain some semblance of dignity. I am Commander Draz Vorex of the Quartanian Empire. We came to your world with specific intentions. To conquer us. A voice shouted cheerfully from the back. Draz's eye ridge twitched. As I was saying, we had certain objectives. However, circumstances have evolved. Yeah, because we hacked your ships, someone called out, followed by cheers. Lura Pex leaned toward Draz. Sir, this is highly irregular. In my 16 conquest campaigns, I have never seen indigenous life forms quite so unintimidated. Thank you for that astute observation, Science Officer, Draz muttered sarcastically. Perhaps next you will point out that water is wet. He straightened his ceremonial armor and addressed the crowd again. The Quartanian Empire spans 342 star systems. We have technologies you cannot comprehend, weapons that could reduce your cities to ash, and the full might of. Quick question, interrupted a young human raising her hand. If you are so powerful, why are all your ships currently broadcasting a show called The Great British Bake Off? Fresh laughter swept through the crowd. Draz felt a headache forming in all three of his brain lobes. The technical difficulties we are experiencing are temporary, he insisted. Another reporter pushed forward. Daniel Morgan, Global Science News. Our analysts have been studying your propulsion signatures. We are particularly interested in how you generate stable wormholes without exotic matter containment issues. Any chance we could discuss a technology exchange instead of this whole conquest business? Draz blinked rapidly. You understand our propulsion systems? Well, the basics, Daniel replied with a shrug. We have had the theoretical framework for decades. You have just worked out the engineering problems we haven't solved yet. Very impressive, by the way. Lieutenant Jackson leaned toward his commander. Sir, this is concerning. Their level of comprehension suggests they are not a level 2 civilization as our intelligence indicated. You think? Draz hissed back. A distinguished-looking human in formal attire approached the microphone set up at the front of the crowd. Director Aliyah Patel, United Earth Science Council. Commander Vorex, we have prepared a preliminary cultural exchange package for your crew. It includes access to our entertainment networks, cultural databases, and basic technological specifications as a gesture of goodwill. We have already uploaded it to your ships. You have what? Draz nearly shouted. Without authorization? Director Patel smiled pleasantly. We assumed since your systems were already accepting our cat videos, you wouldn't mind a few documentaries about human history. Your crew seems particularly interested in something called the history of warfare. Viewing rates are quite high on decks 3 through 17. Draz fought to maintain his composure. Director Patel, you seem to misunderstand the situation. We are not here for cultural exchange. The Quartanian Empire does not exchange. It acquires. About that, Patel replied, still smiling. We have taken the liberty of communicating directly with your high command. The crowd went silent. Even the journalists stopped shouting questions. Draz felt cold dread wash over him. That's impossible. High command communications are encrypted with quantum algorithms and protected by. Yes, those were quite challenging, interrupted a new voice. A small human with bright purple hair stepped forward. I'm Dr. Olivia Sharma. My team handled that part. It's fascinating security protocols, by the way. We had to develop 6 new classes of quantum algorithms just to create a backdoor. You can't have broken those encryptions, Lura Pex protested. They are unbreakable. Dr. Sharma looked genuinely sympathetic. Nothing's unbreakable when millions of people are trying simultaneously with different approaches. Someone always finds a way in. The quantum mechanics were solid, but your authentication protocols had several social engineering vulnerabilities. Social engineering? Draz repeated weakly. Indeed, said Director Patel. It seems your high command was quite susceptible to what we call phishing attacks. They responded rather quickly to messages they believed came from you, requesting emergency authentication codes. Draz closed all four eyes in horrified realization. You tricked the high command of the Quartanian Empire with fake messages? To be fair, Dr. Sharma said cheerfully, we used very convincing forgeries. The digital signatures were perfect copies. Lieutenant Jackson was frantically checking his personal communication device. Sir, it's true. High Command sent a priority message 30 minutes ago. They have ordered us to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth pending further review. But the crowd of humans erupted in cheers. Someone started playing music. Draz distinctly heard the popping of what he now knew were champagne bottles. This is a disaster, he muttered to his officers. An absolute catastrophe. 3 days later, Commander Draz Vorex sat in what the humans called a cafe in a city called Paris, nursing a beverage that had been recommended to him called espresso. He found it bitter but oddly satisfying, much like his current situation. Across from him sat Admiral Thela Kren, who had arrived from High Command with unprecedented speed aboard the Empire's fastest diplomatic vessel. Her expression had not changed from one of stunned disbelief since her arrival 12 hours ago. Let me ensure I understand correctly, Admiral Kren said slowly. The humans never fired a single weapon? Not one, Draz confirmed, taking another sip of espresso. They never deployed their military forces? They gathered some troops, but mostly for crowd control at the various welcome events. And yet our entire fleet has been compromised, hacked, turned into what the humans call a streaming platform. The crews are particularly enjoying something called a reality television. Productivity has dropped by 67%. Admiral Kren's eye ridges furrowed deeply. And high command communications? Thoroughly infiltrated. By now, I imagine most of the Empire's central network has been exposed to human influence. They are remarkably viral. Like a disease, the Admiral murmured. That was my first thought too, Draz agreed. But it's more complex than that. Their ideas spread. Their culture infects. Did you know that 3 of my junior officers have requested permission to establish social media accounts? The Admiral looked pained. The diplomatic team reports similar issues. 2 of my attaches are now participating in something called fantasy football. I don't understand it, but they are very passionate about their draft picks, whatever those are. Draz leaned forward. Admiral, with all due respect, what exactly are our orders now? The conquest has obviously failed, but High Command's directives have been confusing. Admiral Kren sighed deeply. Officially, we are to establish trade relations and cultural exchange programs. And unofficially? Unofficially, half of High Command is terrified of the humans spreading their social viruses throughout the Empire, while the other half is already infected. Grand Marshal Vex now spends 3 hours daily watching something called cooking shows. He's attempting to replicate human cuisine in his personal quarters. Draz nearly choked on his espresso. The Grand Marshal? But he's the most ruthless military commander in the Empire's history. Apparently, he now believes himself to be something called a foodie. The Admiral's tone carried the weight of someone delivering tragic news. He's particularly fond of a dish called ramen. Before Draz could respond, his communication device beeped. He checked it and groaned. What is it? The Admiral asked. The humans have organized a cultural gala tonight. Attendance is strongly encouraged. By whom? Issei, by High Command, apparently. They have developed an interest in human diplomatic protocols. The Admiral rubbed her central eye tiredly. This is unprecedented in the Empire's 10,000-year history. We have conquered countless worlds, subjugated innumerable species, but never, whatever this is, mutual cultural exchange, Draz suggested dryly. Is that what we are calling it? The Admiral laughed bitterly. Seems more like surrender to me. Draz glanced around the cafe, watching humans going about their daily lives. Some stared curiously at the two aliens, others barely gave them a second glance, already accustomed to their presence after just a few days. You know what's truly disturbing? Draz said quietly. They are not afraid of us. Not even slightly. Even after we threatened their world. It's as if they have been expecting us for centuries. Their entertainment is full of stories about alien contact, the Admiral confirmed. My cultural attack has been analyzing their media. They have imagined every possible scenario from complete destruction to peaceful coexistence. They were prepared in their own way. Not militarily, Draz pointed out. No, the Admiral agreed. But perhaps that wasn't necessary. Our weapons remain unfired. Our troops remain on our ships. And yet, somehow we have been defeated. Not defeated, came a new voice. Both aliens looked up to find Director Patel standing beside their table, smiling warmly. May I join you? Without waiting for permission, she pulled up a chair and sat down. A waiter immediately appeared with a drink for her. Not defeated, she repeated. Welcomed. There's a difference. Draz snorted. A semantic one at best. Our conquest fleet now broadcasts human entertainment. Our communications are compromised. Our crew members are becoming obsessed with your culture. If that's not defeat, I don't know what is. Consider it from our perspective, Director Patel suggested. A vastly powerful alien armada arrives in our solar system, threatening conquest. We could have responded with violence. We certainly have enough nuclear weapons to make things unpleasant. But why? What would that accomplish except mutual destruction? It's the traditional response, Admiral Kren said stiffly. Traditional, perhaps, but effective. Hardly. Director Patel sipped her drink. Instead, we chose to welcome you, to learn from you, to share with you. And in return, your people have become curious about us. Is that truly so terrible? It violates every protocol of the Empire, the Admiral insisted. Then perhaps those protocols need updating, Patel replied gently. The universe is vast. Surely there's room for approaches other than conquest. Draz studied the human carefully. You planned this, didn't you? This wasn't just a spontaneous response to our arrival. Director Patel's smile widened. Let's just say humanity has been theorizing about first contact for generations. We had contingency plans. The welcome protocol simply seemed more promising than the last stand protocol. You have a protocol for welcoming conquerors? Admiral Kren asked incredulously. We have protocols for everything, Patel laughed. You should see our pandemic response plans sometime. Absolutely fascinating reading. She stood and straightened her jacket. Now, about tonight's gala. Traditional formal wear is encouraged, but your military uniforms are certainly acceptable. There will be various Earth cuisines to sample music from different cultures, and of course the cultural exchange presentations. Cultural exchange presentations? Draz repeated suspiciously. Nothing too elaborate. Just some proposals for scientific collaboration, educational programs, tourism initiatives, that sort of thing. Tourism? The Admiral looked faint. You want our citizens to visit Earth as tourists? Why not? And naturally, we'd love the opportunity to visit Quartania. I understand your central worlds have architecture that dates back millennia. Our historians are practically salivating at the prospect. With that, she nodded politely and walked away, leaving the two Quartanian officers staring after her. Commander, the Admiral said slowly, I believe we may have fundamentally misunderstood the nature of this species. That, Draz agreed, is the understatement of the millennium. 6 months later, Commander Draz Vorex, now Ambassador Draz Vorex, stood on the observation deck of the newly established Earth Quartanian Cultural Center in orbit around the blue planet. Beside him stood his former science officer Lura Pex, now the head of the Joint Scientific Commission, and Lieutenant, now Cultural Liaison Mav Jackson, who had proven unexpectedly adept at explaining human concepts to confused Quartanians. The 42nd Cultural Exchange Shuttle arrives tomorrow, Jackson reported, consulting his tablet. 300 more Quartanian citizens eager to experience Earth culture. When 17 Earth delegations departed for Quartania last week, Lura added. Mostly scientists and artists this time. Draz sighed. How many of our citizens have applied for extended Earth visas? Jackson hesitated. Nearly 30,000, sir. And how many have requested permanent relocation? Just over 5,000. Draz stared out at the blue planet below. The Empire has begun to change, hasn't it? It's already happening, and it can't be stopped. High Command is concerned, Lura admitted. There's talk of restricting cultural exchanges, limiting exposure to Earth ideas. But too late, Draz said, shaking his head. Much too late. The infection has spread too far. Did you hear that Grand Marshal Vex has opened a restaurant in the Imperial capital, serving Earth cuisine? I have heard the ramen is excellent, Jackson offered helpfully. Draz turned to his former officers. You know what's truly ironic? We came to conquer a world and add it to the Empire. Instead, that world is peacefully conquering us from within, not with weapons or violence, but with ideas. With cat videos and cooking shows and music and art and science, Lura added. The collaborative research projects have yielded remarkable advances already. And sports, Jackson chimed in. The first interspecies Olympic Games are scheduled for next year. Draz laughed a genuine laugh, something that would have been unthinkable for a Quartanian military commander just months ago. We failed in our mission, he said, looking back at Earth. Completely and utterly failed. And yet, somehow I can't bring myself to regret it. An ambassador called a human voice. They turned to see Trevor Barnes, the same civilian who had been one of the first to contact the invasion fleet approaching with a group of excited Quartanian tourists. Ambassador Vorex. Perfect timing. I was just giving these visitors a tour of the facility. Would you mind terribly if they took photos with you? You are quite the celebrity back on Quartania now, you know. Draz suppressed a groan but nodded politely. As the Quartanian tourists crowded around him, their excitement palpable, he caught sight of Director Patel watching from across the observation deck, her expression knowing. She raised her glass in a small toast, and Draz, despite himself, returned the gesture. They had come to colonize Earth. Instead, Earth had colonized their hearts and minds. And strangely enough, the galaxy was better for it.